Hey everyone, welcome to the Good News Podcast. And today, I'll mention this in the introduction at the beginning, but honestly, it felt like it wasn't just one person sitting with me having this conversation. It really felt like it started with seven because this is a family, Amer and his wife Amal, and their 5 kids who have come over to Canada from Syria. Amazing story you're going to hear today. So as we were talking, it just felt like I was talking to the whole family because they've come as a family, as a group together. But then it just kept growing because we as we go on, we get talking about all of the different people that were involved in their life, in transitioning, in coming to a new country. And so, wow, I'm glad you can be a part of this. I hope a word that we used when we finished was we just felt immersed in this story, immersed in this conversation, immersed in the way that God has been at work in this family's life. And so I hope that you can get immersed in this one as well. And I pray that there will be so many things that will translate to your life as well. To have the courage to make difficult decisions, to put your family first, to think outside the box. Like all these are themes that rise up in this story, let alone just naming the reality that there are things like war that continue to be real in our world today. And so we have a story here of someone being rescued from a place where there had been war happening in Syria, and don't want to miss how significant, how amazing. That's good news. That's why we share these stories. So friends, again, get ready, fasten your seatbelts. Let's dive in. Welcome everyone to the Good News Podcast. So glad that you can join us for this conversation. And it's funny because we obviously chat a little bit before we sit down and start rolling the camera and putting the recorder on for the sound. But I already feel blessed to be with my friend Amer. This is an incredible story. In fact, I feel like it's not just Amer sitting here. I feel like his whole family sitting here. Amer, his wife Amal, and their 5 beautiful kids. And so this is a great story that I think you're going to be really inspired by. Amer, thanks so much for being a part of the conversation today, be part of the Good News Podcast, and so good to see you again, and just grateful for you. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, Jamie. I'm thank you very much for having me with you today with your program, and I really thank you very much. It's an honor and it's a pleasure for me to be with you, and it's great that we see each other after such long time because of COVID, because of the pandemic. So thanks God, life coming back to normal, and people can see each other, and I'm very happy to be with you today.
Yeah, feelings are absolutely mutual. I feel so blessed to be here, and it's quite a story, Amer. I mean, just as we were even thinking about some of our history together, some of how you and your family have come to Canada. It's amazing. Really awed by the way God worked through all of that. Maybe that's where we should start today, even going back to life in Syria before you found your way to Canada. Mm-hmm.
Sure. You know, to start with, it's becoming our 8th year to be here in Canada, because when we arrived on the family day, which was February 15th, 2016. And by now, I mean, we are very proud being in Canada and being Canadians, citizen by now. And the time was really flying since we arrived. The family is growing. The kids, they did a lot of progress. But you know, going back a little bit to how things happened. I mean, we were in Syria before the war. There was no any plan to leave Syria. Mm-hmm. Especially that I was working in international companies where it required a lot of travel from me. So I was keep on traveling since I was graduated and working as a registered nurse in some hospitals. Then I moved to medical sales and marketing. So I was working first with the American company in United Arab Emirates, covering the Middle East countries. Thereafter, I shifted to a German company where I was covering almost like 38 different countries in Middle East and North Africa. So, and the job, my job was, because it was sales and marketing director, which was requiring a lot of traveling, which was hectic from one hand for me as a person, and for Amal and the kids, because not having me always in the home, it was really a problem. In 2009, I decided just to resign, to stop working with the international companies, and establish my own business in Syria, so that I travel less. Then I can spend more time with the family. Just try to make the balance, because by that time I had 3 of my kids. I had only Saif and Osama and Malak. And it was a hard decision, but I took it. You know, when you are like in the peak in what you are doing, and you decide, okay, it's time to leave. You know, it's not easy decision to take. But I decided to take this decision because I wanted to establish my own business, because that will require a lot of effort and time to make the break even, to establish the business. Then when I reach some certain age, then I'm established. Then I don't need to do a lot of work. So I did started the company in Syria, taking the distributorship of many companies, especially the one I was working for before. I did the great at the beginning. I had the main office in Damascus, another 4 branches in the main regions in Syria. I had over 18 employees between managers and technicians and branch managers. And it was really great to start, because I came with very good background on the medical business. Learned a lot from my ex-bosses, and I used all these experiences to implement it in my own business. It was a great beginning. We did a lot in 2010, then in 2011, and I was about to reach the break even. It was really great. But unfortunately, by the time I established the business, I start to feel the establishment, the quality time with the family. Then, unfortunately, the war started because of the Arabian Spring, which was happening in many other countries in the area. Then it started in Syria. So the war was really hard for everyone, and therefore we have to think again out of the box. I mean, I was thinking out of the box in 29, just to establish the business and establish ourselves in Syria. It wasn't easy. So 2011, the war started. I was trying to survive as much as I can, not to leave the country, hoping that tomorrow will be better. You know what I mean? You still have the hope. Especially, I'm not alone, you know, not my family. I have linked another 18 family with me, whom are my employees. So I'm responsible, not only about my family, my extended family, it's also my employees' families, you know. So I was trying to survive and keep the company working as much as possible. But it was reaching the point where I was forced by August 2012 to leave the country, really.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, when I left the country, luckily, my case is different from too many other Syrians' cases, because Amal, originally, she is not Syrian. She's Palestinian, having a Jordanian passport. Her family are all based in Jordan. Jordan, who didn't know, Jordan and Syria, it's 2 border countries. You can travel by car. It's like an hour and a half to 2 hours drive. So it was a straightforward decision, our case, that we move immediately to Jordan. Since the part of Amal's family is already in Jordan. So in my case, like more than half of my family, it's already in Jordan. So it was the right decision that we took, because many, they left to Lebanon or to Turkey, or or different cities inside Syria. It was a hustle. I mean, half of the Syrian population, they were out of Syria.
Yeah.
I mean, more than 3 millions, they were in Turkey, around 1.5 million in Lebanon, around another 1.5 million to 2 million in Jordan. So it wasn't easy at all. So in Jordan, it's like restarting all over.
You literally moved the family to Jordan to safety.
Yes. Yeah. Indeed, they left before me. I made sure that they are in the safe place in Jordan. And I was staying alone in Syria just to keep up the business. So, but it reached the point where I could not stay anymore myself also in Syria. Then after that, I catch up with them later in Syria, after I faced a lot of difficulties. Yeah. I mean, everybody knows what I mean by difficulties, but it was really a very hard timing. I consider myself, I was born again when I left Syria and reached Jordanian border because of the war. Yeah. Many people, they were lost their life. They lost their friends, their family members' life. It is a war. Yeah. I mean, war. You know what it means, a war. Restarting in Jordan, it wasn't that easy, because in 2009 it was my own decision to resign and to start my own business. But when I left Syria in 2012, after 3 years, when I was about to make the break even, many of my branches, they were stolen, they were destroyed. So when I left Syria almost minus more than $500,000.
Wow. Yeah.
With losses. It's a lot of losses. Yeah. And when people, they say, okay, we go somewhere else, we start from zero. My zero was below $500,000. Actually,
negative.
It's not a zero. Yeah. It's not a zero, but I always say to my friends and my family members, I mean, too many people, including many of my extended family, they lost their businesses also. They lost they lost their houses, their cars, their businesses, and it's not only my case. The difference between me and many others, I still believe that, okay, I made it in 29. So if I made it once,
I can do it again.
I can do it again and again and again. Yeah. And money didn't make me, but I made the money in Syria. So I made it once. As long as I was still healthy, I still have peace of mind. I didn't lose my mind. I still have all my body working. Then I have the power, number one. But before this, it's a belief, because I believe in God at the first place, and I believe in myself at the second place.
Yeah.
That the God will not leave me. God knows what's going on. God knows that I have another 18 family I was taking care of. God knows too many things I should really do, not for me and for my family, but maybe for the others. So from that belief, I restructured everything again in Jordan. And I established a new company there, and I called the company Phoenix. And I mean it. I mean it.
And tell us about the meaning behind that name. That's a very significant, intentional naming, eh? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Intentionally, I call it Phoenix, because it's like the bird Phoenix. I'm from the ash. I have to recreate myself again and start flying.
That's cool.
And that's explains exactly what happens to me in Jordan. Because in Jordan, many of my family members, they were like saying, okay, I mean, you are facing these kind of difficulties. Why don't you come back and work as an employee? And the international companies that you used to work before. So at least you have a job. You have, you can feed yourself and your family. And I was getting offer, to work with some of them in Saudi Arabia or United Arab Emirates, and with very good offers that time. One of them was through my brother-in-law, and I said no, no, thank you. He was saying, "Are you crazy? Are you crazy? You're getting very good offer to establish your life again in Saudi Arabia. You with the whole family with very good package, and you said no." I said, "Of course I will say no. Once you believe in yourself that you could really make it another time, then you will make it. If I go and start my life again as an employee again, this is it for the rest of my life." Number one. Number two, I will be maybe saving myself and my family, but what about the others whom are still responsible from me? I can't just leave everything behind and think about myself.
Yeah.
And I said no, and I restarted everything again in Jordan. But that time, I worked in different business model, to be, because in Syria it was more of local business. I import the products from different companies in Europe, especially Germany. I sell them in the market in Syria. Now, doing the same exercise is not my territory. You know what I mean? Jordan is not my market. So if I wanted to repeat what I was doing in Syria, definitely I will have the failure.
Yeah.
Because every land, it has its own players.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm coming as a new player into this. Yeah. So I should know the rules of the game.
Awesome.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I work it differently. That, okay, Jordan would be a kind of original place for me to work on different countries in the region, taking in consideration my BR and experiences with the companies I used to work for, so that I can provide them my services in terms of sales and marketing, in terms of the experience that I have in those particular countries, because I'm from that area. And, sometimes there are barriers with mentalities, with the way of thinking. It's always, then I'm a middle guy who could really bring thoughts together, but things working, happening, which was great. I did suffer a lot in the beginning, for sure, but start things to grow in 2013, 14, 15. I did really great until that time, before moving to Canada.
Yeah. I love your entrepreneurial spirit and resiliency, and like you said, thinking outside the box and recreating. And isn't that a sign of God's work? That recreating work of God and bringing things in a new way and caring for your family, but also your employees who are also like family. Love who you are, Amer, and really grateful that you are where you are today. Can you tell us a bit about the journey to Canada, how that came to be, coming to Canada? And you mentioned earlier about arriving in Canada for the first time on Family Day. And what do you remember, about that? So the journey to Canada, how did that happen? But also, what was it like when you got here, when you arrived here, that first day, getting here on Family Day? You couldn't write it up like any better.
Indeed, it's amazing, Jamie. Sometimes, because all of us, we always think ahead. We always think about the future. We always think to have a better future for us, and to have a better future for our children in the first place. What happened with us, it's beyond any way of thinking. It's beyond, because looking with what happened with me, with Amal, with the kids, in comparison with the other Syrians, Syrians, they really took the hard way to be in Europe. Germany had almost 2 million Syrians when the war started. They were scattered in many countries in Europe and US and Canada. So they took really the hard way. They had to go through the sea in the boat, in an unofficial boat, I may say. It's like they're going unofficial ways, trying to reach Italy or trying to reach East Europe, and then walk between mountains and to reach Austria, then from Austria to Germany. It was too many unofficial ways. Of course, too many of them, they could not make it. They were like dead in the sea. They couldn't, because I mean, it's not, you're not going with Titanic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not with a boat with the safety tools and it's a luck. You may reach, you may not. But people, they were losing hope, and they were thinking, anyway, we are dying.
Yeah.
So let's die in the sea, or we make it.
Yeah, and I think probably everyone remembers those images, seeing some of that on the news, like that when that was happening. It was just people traveling by sea, not making it. It was very sad. It was very sad to see.
Yeah, you remember the very first kid, Ian,
Absolutely.
when was at the beach of one of the in Turkey.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of that was in the beginning how things happened.
Yeah.
In my case, because I was really establishing myself again in Jordan, and because of my father-in-law family is already there, we didn't feel that we are out of our country anyways. So it wasn't really our plan to leave Jordan. And we were like establishing, trying to get things done, putting the kids in a good level of schools, trying to get a house, to establish ourselves. And I never thought, even like my brothers, they left by that hard way to Germany. And they were encouraging me, why didn't you come? We'll meet, we'll have a new establishment in Germany. Why? I told them, I'm happy here. And I'm really wanted really to keep going this way. Until November 2015. November 2015, if you remember, Jamie, there was the election is going to go on in Canada for Mr. Trudeau. And Mr. Trudeau was promising, in case he is the prime minister, he's going to bring 25,000 Syrian families, if you remember.
Yeah.
So, which he was the prime minister that time. Then he started to deliver his promise. Canada sent Canadian delegation into Syria, and not Syria, to the surrounding countries to Syria, Turkey, Lebanon, Jordan, and they get the help with the United Nations and the IOM, the International Immigration Society, to bring families from Syria to Canada. We were part of them, actually, and we got the message from, it was because we were registered, anybody left Syria,
Sure,
he came to Jordan, then it's automatically registered in United Nations.
Okay.
So like we have a file with the United Nations with the certificate number, with, because we were getting some help in terms of food with food bank and those kind of support from United Nations. So they start to select the Canadian delegation, names from the United Nations, and we were from the families. They were selected for it was like a series of different interviews, because it was like certain criterias that father, mother, family, it's a complete family. It's not like no father, but there is mother, or vice versa. You know what I mean? So there were like certain criterias. So they sent the message, are you interested to be relocated to Canada? If yes, then you need to come in that day to have the first interview. I mean, it wasn't really at the plan at all. And I went back, I was in the office, then I went back to home, and Amal, how happy are you in Jordan? Yes, good, not good.
Yeah.
Do you like to go to Canada? I mean, I was like, it's like between serious and kidding, because it's like, and we never thought that it will happen. She said, I don't know, but I mean, anyway, go for the interview and let them say no. You know, that kind of, you don't want it to say yes, but you don't want the no to come from you.
Okay.
So let the other side say no.
Let's try and see what happens. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
That's a big try it and see what happens. Wow.
It wasn't, so I went for the first interview, and it was like quick selection because I was like matching the criteria, speaking the Arabic, the English, the French, education, everything. It's like a good candidate, you know what I mean, to go for the second level of interviews, which is with the IUM. Then IUM take you into the Canadian delegation with the embassy in Jordan. And so we passed all these through. We came into the final stage. And the final stage, I mean, this is where it become really serious. You know, from the day, the first time they called us until the day we came to Canada, it is 3 months, which is unbelievable.
Wow.
Usually, when you put the application to immigrate to Canada, it takes 2 to 3 years.
Wow.
That's the normal procedure.
Yeah.
In our case, it was only 3 months.
Man.
Because it's the Canada government came to Jordan, you know, there was a complete delegation working on it to accelerate the process of all this. So when we came to the final stage, and this is where it was really serious, thinking that, okay, I'm doing very well in Jordan. Business is growing. In a way or another, we are established, but we still, in a way or another, between quotation, we are a refugee. You don't have the complete rights that the Jordanians, for instance, have. So there's still things to think about from one hand. From the other hand, it's like I'm not thinking about myself as an individual as much as I have to think about myself as a family. Okay, what I'm doing for the family if I say no? What the benefit they will get if I say yes? So it was a very hard decision. And I don't want to have the decision alone. You know, so we were talking a lot, Amal and I, in this. We were like discussing like the pros, the cons, you know, all positive points, negative points, you know, and especially it wasn't in the plan at all, and nothing. It's not that we apply for immigration and a few years later we get the approval so that we are happy. You know what I mean? So it's like everything at sudden, everything at once. You have to make a decision
very fast.
Yes. And I was like between yes and hesitant with no. They called us next week. You should be in the plane.
Wow.
It's like you have no choice because it wasn't a normal flight. It was like charter flights. Twice per week from the military airport in Jordan. And it takes all the Syrians to Toronto or Montreal. So it's like if you don't take the flight, we cannot guarantee there will be another one. You see, it's like it's not in the corner, but you have to make the decision. Then you know, it was simple math with one simple question. Amal asked me that time. Okay. Forget about financial issues. You are great. You're doing very well. You can send your kids to the best university in the world. 5 or 6 years later, Saif was grade 9 that time. So it's like 8 years later, Saif is graduated from the best universities in Jordan. Regardless how much you spend, he is like with Syrian passport, with a great degree. What will he do? He can't travel. He can't work out of Jordan. In Jordan itself, the opportunities are limited. Take the other scenario. 8 years later, Saif is Canadian. Saif is graduated from the best universities in the world in Canada. Saif has the opportunity to work in Canada and anywhere in the world. Which one you take? Pick up the stuff. Let's go.
Wow. That was a good question that she asked.
Exactly.
Yeah.
From there, we decided then yes, because whatever investment I make for the kids, I think the best investment is to bring them here to Canada.
Yeah.
And here we are, actually safe today. He is Canadian. He's in grade 4 in university. Next year, he's going to be graduated. And he's Canadian, and he has the whole world open for him.
Yeah.
And that was really hard, but it's excellent decision. I think this is the best decision I ever took in my life for the family.
Yeah. Okay, I told you there was a lot in this story, and that it was something that hopefully we would immerse ourselves in. And so what's happening here today is we're going to continue next week for part 2, because as Amer shares the story, there's just so much to it. In fact, didn't even realize until we got into the story, reviewing it, the video replaying, how much was happening and how much is happening in this story. So stay tuned for part 2 next week to hear how do things really go for this beautiful family as they come to Canada. But do want to lift up the themes that we've heard so far. I love this idea of reinventing himself, of thinking outside the box, that entrepreneurial spirit that God has blessed Amer with, that not only helped for his business and his leadership, but also for his life, his supporting of his family, his being open to connections. And you're going to hear more of that as we move into part 2 next week. But wow, I'm blessed. I hope you are too in hearing this one. Hope you can join us next week. Friends, don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Good News with Jamie Holtum. It would be awesome if you subscribe to the Good News Podcast. That way you get to know whenever a new episode is released each and every week. God bless you. Hope to see you again real soon.